The Thrifty Car Rental Postgame Report. Great cars, great rates at over 1,200 locations worldwide. Thrifty Car Rental.
And welcome to New York. John Saunders alongside Terry Bowden. And if there were disbelievers before, these believers, 75,000 plus, the largest crowd ever to see a game at Oklahoma in that configuration. And this is the big story. Oklahoma becomes the first team in NCAA history to win games against number 1 and number 2 in consecutive games. Of course, getting Kansas State, they were number 2. Did this surprise you? Do you look at Bob Stoops and remind yourself at all when you took that Auburn team in your first year to be undefeated?
But, John, you're exactly right. It's very hard to go undefeated. And you got to do that by beating good teams. You know, they're saying there's no great football teams in the country right now. Well, gosh, Oklahoma's better than Texas. They're better than Kansas State. Now they're better than Nebraska. That's pretty great if you ask me, John.
It's almost as if every week you look at Oklahoma, you see who's on their schedule, and you wonder if this is going to be the week that they stumble. And clearly this team is not going to stumble. How did they make the adjustments? Down 14-0. Nebraska scored the first 2 times they had the ball. What did they do to change things?
Well, they showed why they're a pretty good football team. I don't know if you're going to call them great, but, you know, I mean, if you look at them on defense, they gave up 2 quick touchdowns, 167 yards. Then they came back and stopped the running game for Nebraska. That's what they did to defensively. They came back, and, you know, they come to a team that runs better than their scout team. They're not sure how to stop them, how the speed of the game is going to go. And then they adjust to it, and they shut down the running game of Nebraska after those first 2 series.
The celebration is on and will continue into the wee hours of the night, we suspect, in Norman. Number 2 in the BCS standings beats number 1. Back with more in a moment. A look at Memorial Stadium, where, believe it or not, this is the first time that Oklahoma has knocked off a number 1 team at home. The last 5 times they came up losers in all of those occasions. So another reason to celebrate. But again, let's go back to what happened in the game. 14-0, Nebraska grabbed the lead. We saw the adjustment defensively. Oklahoma suddenly got it going offensively as well.
Well, you're right. They didn't panic on defense, but they made adjustments on offense. You've got to adjust to what Nebraska is doing. They were playing bump and run, and you'll see the receivers adjust their routes. They get open on bump and run before the quarterback gets sacked. They were better at playing against Nebraska's defensive backs. Nebraska's defensive backs didn't bump very good in their bump and run.
Nebraska is a team over the years have been known for the big play, but really it was the other way around. The big play, the costly play going against Nebraska.
Well, you know what? Everybody talks about, is it more important to run the football or pass the football? But let me tell you something, folks. Oklahoma didn't run the football. And you know what? The third thing comes about in a big game is turnovers. Oklahoma won the turnover game. They intercepted 1 pass for a touchdown here. They recovered a fumble. And, John, they blocked a punt that did not lead to a touchdown, but they kicked a field goal off of it to win this game on turnovers.
There is going to be a number of people still who will be disbelievers in this Oklahoma team. No question, they're going to be number 1 ranked in both polls and in the BCS standings when they come out next week based on this. But let's take a look at what is left on their schedule to get to the Orange Bowl. The fans were littering the field with oranges. Well, guess what? Hold on, not quite yet. And look at November 11th. You know that's going to be a tough game.
You're exactly right, with Texas A&M at Texas A&M. And the question now is, does Oklahoma know how to act like a championship team? That means, do they not get overconfident? Do they not fall asleep or overlook something that you've got to do? It's very hard, like I said, to go undefeated in any season.
And by the way, to get to the Big 12 championship,
yes,
that's going to be difficult enough. And then to win that game, if Nebraska gets back there against them, can they make the adjustment for the second time and then on a neutral field in Kansas City?
Let's remember, John, this game was at Norman, Oklahoma. It was a home field for Oklahoma. Their fans are wild. It's a comfort zone. Take Nebraska down the road. If both of these teams can get back to the Big 12 championship, Nebraska will be on a neutral site. They will have a second look at this team, and I think you're going to see a Nebraska team that's going to play a lot better.
A lot of people will be pointing ahead to that one in Nebraska. They will want them for the second time. Stick around. Back with more of the Thrifty Car Rental postgame report in a moment. The second half of our doubleheaders are coming up.
The Thrifty Car Rental Postgame Report. The car you want, the service you expect, all at a low rate. Just what you want, just Thrifty.
Again, the dreaded goalpost celebration, a little premature, I think, before you win a championship, but just the same, a big win for Oklahoma over Nebraska, 31-14. Lynn Swan is standing by with the victorious quarterback, Josh Heupel.
Josh, this was a tremendous football game. You deserve the right now just to tell us how you felt during that ball game. What was happening on the field?
Well, it was a battle. You got two great teams out there. Neither one was going to do it. Nebraska's going to come after you for 4 quarters. They're a great football team, and luckily enough, our defense did a great job after the first quarter and just picked things up, and offensively, we were able to do just enough to get it done.
You could see the confidence of this football team growing after that first quarter. It just seemed to build and build.
Well, we came out in the first quarter. Things were there. I didn't do a good job of getting it to my wide receivers. We started picking things up, and our defense started getting it back together, too.
When you were in the tunnel, your teammates were coming by congratulating you. It just seemed like you took control of that football game in the third and fourth quarter.
Well, we did. We were able to do just enough offensively, get some first downs, keep our defense off the field, give them a break, and they went out there and did a good job stopping their offense.
Just everything you thought this big game would be?
There's nothing like it. If you're a college football player, there's nothing like playing in a big football game.
I'm going to bring you.
I guess you can believe the Josh Heupel, if you will. But Josh Heupel, you have to talk about this guy. He's a quarterback to a lot of people that came out of nowhere because he was recruited by a smaller school, ended up at a junior college. But right now, you got to thrust him into the forefront, if not to the top of the class. He's in part of the class for the Heisman.
Yeah, John, his dad's a football coach, so he knows how to be a quarterback since the day he was born. You know, someone said today he's the best quarterback in the country from the neck up. I don't know if that's a criteria for the Heisman Trophy, but undefeated football team is a criteria, and he's got himself in the hunt right now.
It's better than saying you're dead from the neck up.
Right.
The alternative. Let's get to some scores and highlights.